That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the last one here, what is interesting in this?
This is a little change of pace, but you can read what it is. Here's another black elected to office.
A free Negro man in the name of Thomas Hercules was on the 6th day of July chosen town clerk of that bureau by a decided majority of votes. This, we mention, is proof of the growing liberality of the present age, when virtue and worth alone, and not mere color or tippery of rank and splendor, begin to recommend a man
places of trust and confidence.
Trust and confidence.
He got elected because of his worth and abilities. It wasn't because of what color he was or wasn't. It wasn't because of him scheming for office.
Does this not sound like Martin Luther King? This sounds like Martin Luther King.
That's a 1792 newspaper.
1792.
And blacks elected office, and just as a matter of fact, in the newspaper.
Again, if you don't know history, you repeat it.
Yeah.
Look what we did. We repeated it. We made progress, and then it was erased, and so we repeated it.
Yeah.
David, what was the thing that you found in you or anybody else that started going through stuff and you went, I can't believe this? Was there anything that really just opened your eyes on this particular subject that you thought, nobody knows this?
What opened my eyes was in the state of Texas, because I was walking through the Texas state capitol, and I was just wandering around. I had some time between some meetings, and I was wandering around, and back under a stairway, and I mean I was going into the nooks and crannies, back under a stairway, they have, all over the Capitol, they've got big posters of all the people who served in the 15th legislature, the 16th or 17th, and a bunch of them were missing, and they were tucked away back under the steps of the Capitol. And I walked back there and looked at them. They were all black guys. We had legislatures in Texas that were probably 60, 70% black. And I looked at those guys and said, I've never heard this. And so I started writing down names, and I went and started looking them up. These guys elected to office in early Texas and were some of our leaders. Matthew Gaines, I love, was a black senator, did the first faith-based program in the nation, came out of Texas for the black senator doing it. I never heard of Matthew Gaines.
When were they put underneath the stairwell?
That's what I don't know. I don't know. They were put under the stairwell. I found them back there, and that's what kind of opened my eyes. I started looking. I found that to be true in most of the southern states. Most of the southern states put Lucas Morel, when we were on the first program, he talked about this is the only time in American history where losers wrote the history. The Confederate guys wrote the history. They wrote the blacks right out of history, and they stuck these prominent leaders back under the stairway so no one would see them. And I find that across those old Confederate states.
America, it's time to bring them out from underneath the stairway. And it is time to learn the truth of our history that will unite us and bring us together. More in a second. About our black founders tonight, and there is so much history here that we can't squeeze it into an hour, or in this case 2, and soon to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There is a lot coming this summer that you do not want to miss. Go to glennbeck.com, sign up for Insider Extreme. Tonight we premiere a new Rock Stars of the Revolution. You'll hear everything that David Barton has to say about our black founders, plus you will learn stuff that you have never read in textbooks. Never. David Barton, founder and president of the Wall Builders. He's also the author of a great book, American History in Black and White. David, I want to talk to you about, I'm starting to collect textbooks.
Right.
And we were talking about it in my office just the other day. We can open up textbooks, depending on which one and where it's from, and see what they're teaching in school. And we know, because like you've gone to the original sources. I've read, in fact, I had some on the set earlier. I've read the diaries of some of these people. Yeah. I've touched the documents. Yeah. And you read the textbooks, and it's completely upside down.
Yeah.
Is there a way by not passing through the gates of academia, you know, because they hold all the keys, is there a way to restore this history? Yeah. And is there? How?
I'm going to use the Texas model for an example, because we talked in the last program about how every one of these black guys we just mentioned we now have back in the Texas textbooks, and because of the nature of the textbook market, that's coming to all 49 other states. I mean, this will affect all national standards. This started 15 years ago. There are 15 elected State Board of Education members in Texas. That's a down-ballot race. Nobody ever pays attention to it. They're all elected. Each one comes from a district the size of 2 congressional districts. We started 15 years ago saying, you know what, if we're ever going to change the content of textbooks, we're going to have to look at the people who are in charge of what goes in the textbooks. And we started electing solid, conservative, traditional, patriotic, American, common-sense people 15 years ago. We finally got to where we have a majority on the board. And it came just in time for all these votes that we had on these history standards. You know, it was the academics that chewed us up and came after us, but these common sense people that we...
That's all I want. I don't want a conservative or liberal or whatever. Right. I just want somebody who doesn't hate the country.
That's right.
When it's a coin toss, give it, you know, give the coin toss to us, or even put up in the textbook, it's a coin toss. We're not sure.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's a coin toss. But also somebody who just roots it in fact.
That's right.
Because it's so distorted.
It is. Well, one of the things that I did in going through this, helping these guys analyze it, was I said, okay, look at the heroes that they have given us, because 240 school teachers put together the standards. We're supposed to edit it, and they vote on it. So we looked at all the 100 and some odd names, and overt liberals outnumbered overt conservatives by 4-to-1 margin. I said, let's at least get some balance in here. You know, let's get some. And we started adding these good guys, and of course they screamed, "Oh, you're turning the textbooks to the right." No, we're just bringing them back to even.
Well, what about black and white?
Black and white, as far as the textbooks, what was interesting was the last standards done 12 years ago, 11% of the names mentioned in the textbook were non-white. The ones we just did is now up to 25%. We've increased that number significantly, and they're screaming at us because we turned it conservative. No, we're just starting to teach history the way it actually happened.
It's unbelievable. Tell me one of the stories that you...
I've got some good friends that are in Special Forces, and those guys they're really cool dudes in Special Forces. And that goes back to OSS and World War II, and then we came up with John F. Kennedy, Navy SEALs, and Special Forces. We had Special Forces back in the American Revolution. One of the first examples was in December of 1776, our second-in-command, General Charles Lee, got captured by the British. Only way we're going to get him back is to capture a British general of equal rank and make a prisoner exchange. So what they do is they come up with this commando-type plan, a snatch and grab. We got to go in there in the middle of this big British fort where the #2 general is, snatch the guy, get him out without the British knowing, then we'll make an exchange. So up in Newport, Rhode Island, where the British were, General Richard Prescott was the #2 general, and they came up with a plan to go right in the middle of his massive installation and catch him and get him out. And so Lieutenant Colonel William Barton came up with a plan. He went to his 40 top soldiers. He's an American. He went to his 40 top soldiers, black and white, got them all together and said, guys, here's what I propose. We're going to go in at night. We're going to capture him in his sleeping quarters at night. We're going to have to go by all the British warships, have to go by all the guards. We'll get there, we'll capture him, we'll bring him out, and then we'll make the exchange. And he said, this probably gets you killed. Anybody want to do this? All 40 raised their hands and volunteered. I want to go. So they got in the rowboats. They put clothing around the oars so that when they were rowing, the muffled sound, they rowed right under the prow of the British warships, rowed right up on the land where all the guards were. They snuck up on the British guards, knocked them all out, tied them up, secured them. They finally found their way back to his quarters, and they got there, and his door was locked. And, you know, what do you do now?
Sucked. Did anybody bring a key?
Exactly.
What are you thinking, man?
Exactly.
Right.
It's locked. It's like, oh, gosh, how do we do this quiet? And they're wondering about what to do. And a black patriot, Prince Sisson, said, move out of the way. Just shoved him aside. He ran at the door, used his head as a battering ram. Hit the door cracked, but it didn't go through. He backed up, hit it a second time, and it exploded, and they went in, and of course the British general is absolutely shocked. You know, what just happened to his door? And Prince Sisson is the guy who just, he's a door kicker. My son-in-law, we call him a door kicker because he's 3 tours in Iraq. But this was a door kicker from way back then. And he broke that door in, went and captured the general. They brought him out, muffled it, brought him back across. They made a successful prisoner exchange. So that's your first Special Forces operation in the American Revolution.